Georgia versus Auburn. Big rivalry game in the SEC this weekend. Joe, when you look at Georgia and Auburn, I got one question for you before we even talk about the game. Is this a game for Hugh Freeze's job?
I think it is, man. I think it is. You're coming off of, by the way, Georgia 3.5-point favorite on FanDuel. You're coming off of a bye week, and you talked about having time to reset and having the opportunity to sit and figure out how to work on improving things. There is not going to be a week after this if they get their asses kicked. Now, Blake, the biggest thing that I'm paying attention to in this game, Georgia's pass rush has been incredibly criticized, up until this point. They have not done an effective job. Only 7 sacks this year, which is 13th in the SEC. They have 23 tackles for loss, which is 14th in the SEC. They're getting a matchup with not a bad Auburn offensive line, but one that is set up to fail because Jackson Arnold holds onto the ball too long. They have allowed 21 sacks, 30 tackles for loss so far this season. Like, the number one most important thing is, does Georgia's pass rush start to build some confidence in this game, and do they start to get after Auburn? I am blown away by the fact that this line is this close. This is one of my locks of the week. I am absolutely taking Georgia to cover that 3.5-point spread.
To your point, Georgia's 108th in the country in sacks. They have 7. And here's the question that I have. I do think Hugh Freeze's job is up for grabs this week. It might not come to pass, and you might not see it on Twitter, and you might not see people saying sources. Hugh Freeze is going to be let go at the end of the year, has been let go at Auburn. But what I do think is, Joe, there's going to have to be something to pass here. And this could be the start of, all right, well, we knew that Hugh was out by the Georgia game after they lost. It makes this line very interesting to me because you're right about Georgia not being able to get home and get after the passer. Can they get after Jackson Arnold, who, by the way, you're right, holds on to the ball too long? But there's something that Georgia also has not been able to figure out either. Joe, teams have been hitting deep passes on them all year, whether it be Bama, whether it be Tennessee, regardless of who it is. Cam Coleman still exists. Eric Singleton still exists. And what happens if Jackson Arnold actually does have time?
That's the opposite side of this conversation, which is really interesting is this the possibility of the created opportunities for Georgia's pass rush to tee off, which I lean in that being the reality that happened.
I do too.
Because if no one's open, because the secondary is playing solidly enough, that they're playing good enough in coverage, I think Arnold's going to still make the same mistakes that he's made so far.
I do too. And listen, offensively, they just don't have a pulse. They're 112th in the country in passing. They're 117th in the country in third down, which is dead last in the SEC, not named South Carolina. Maybe they can shock Georgia coming out to start the game, coming off of a bye week. Like, maybe they show them some stuff that they haven't seen, kind of like what Tennessee did. Hey, we didn't really show anything. Tennessee comes out throwing haymakers and they land with Brazel and the boys. Maybe that happens. But I got to tell you, man, there's no way in blue hell that I am trusting Hugh Freeze in this offense to do anything. Blake, Georgia's struggling getting after the passer. Don't care. I simply do not care. Because here's what I do trust. I will trust Kirby Smart defensively more than I will ever trust Hugh Freeze right now and Jackson Arnold offensively. It's not close. Now, what would scare me if I'm a Georgia fan here is Cam Coleman. It, without a doubt, is Cam Coleman. Because, Joe, they have not been able, whether it be Bama and Tennessee that I just mentioned, teams have gotten vertical on them, and they have been undisciplined in the secondary. I hate to say this about Georgia, but it's the truth. Georgia fans, a lot of you follow this show, and you know that we love you. But here, we got to rip a Band-Aid off here. And your secondary is playing highly undisciplined. Highly. You're not doing the things that you need to do to be elite, and you're not doing the things that you need to do to be great. You're getting out of position. You're being lackadaisical on some things. You're losing lack of focus. But I just can't for the life of me. And I know Cam Coleman could have a special day, and if Jackson Arnold's given time to throw, maybe he can hit some passes to Cam Coleman. But, Joe, I think that the thing that we're going to see this week, at least that I hope that we see this week, Auburn's defense is 38th in the country in total defense. Oh, it's not that bad. But their secondary has been attacked like no other. Georgia, you went out in the portal and got some receivers. Colby Young is pretty good. Zachariah Branch is pretty good. It's time to let Gunnar Stockton let that thing loose. Because I'm going to tell you, this Auburn defense, whether we want to make fun of them or not, we want to make fun of Auburn, we want to make fun of Hugh Freeze, Jackson Arnold, that's all fine and dandy. Joe, this Auburn defensive front seven is legit under DJ Durkin. They're really good. They're very good. Marcel Reed and Texas A&M literally was stubborn and tried to continue to run the football when you have weapons like Concepcion and Marvio Craver and Terry Bussey on the outside, and they kept trying to run the ball on them, and it backfired. You better open this thing wide open and let Gunnar Stockton go off, because that's where you're going to win this game.
Yeah, you're going up against this front led by Keldrick Falk that has been phenomenal. And one area that should be the approach, using those weapons, the speed that you now have available to you, and the improved wide receiver room, it's becoming a bigger and bigger asset every single week. The one area that I'm definitely intrigued by, though, which area breaks through. And I'm talking about how Auburn's run defense has been fantastic to this point. 88 rush yards per game, 2.56 yards per carry allowed. They're just not allowing anybody to get going, but they gave up 207 against A&M, and they gave up 8 runs of 10 yards or more. You've got Chauncey Bowens and Nate Frazier off to this tremendous start where this whole rushing attack has over 207 rush yards per game, 4.79 yards per carry, and the two of them are averaging over 5 yards per attempt. So that is like another facet to this, my last facet to this, that I want to see you. How does the run game for Georgia step up with a real challenge? Because that has been the biggest reason why their offense has hit so much balance.
Well, and two, Auburn is 16th in the country in tackles for loss. Look, I'm telling you, man, this Auburn front seven is legit. They are so bad in so many areas that we can point out. Do I think you can throw on them? Yes. Do I think that offensively they're anemic throwing the football? Yes. Do I think that Hugh Freeze's job is on the line? Yes. You better not run your head up against the wall like Texas A&M did, because that's what they did, and that game was a 6-point game.
Right. And
Auburn stood around, and they're not going to give up. DJ Durkin has got those dudes playing. Xavier Atkins, hello. Might be the one of the unkept secrets in the entire country, might be Debo Atkins. Joe, I can't trust anything that they do, though. I'm going to go Georgia here, and I'm going to go Georgia big. I think that Kirby is going to allow this to happen, and I don't trust Jackson Arnold at all. Give me the Dogs big here.
I concur. Give them to me on FanDuel 3.5 to cover. One of my favorite bets this week.
What do they know that we don't?
Well, last time this game was at Auburn, it was close, and that's the only thing that I could guess.
I guess I just can't. For the life of me, I can't see it.